Welcome back to our holiday episodes about aphasia inclusion. This time we are catching up with Bruce. Bruce doesn't have aphasia, he has instead ataxic dysarthria. What that means is his words come out. He can think of his words, put his thoughts together, but his speech is characterized by like almost a disjointed flow of speech. It starts and stops. It's not flowy like you would expect. And with that, it takes a little more concentration. Welcome back to our series on aphasia inclusion for the holidays. In today's episode, we are catching back up with Bruce and his journey with dysarthria. While Bruce's condition affects his speech, it certainly doesn't limit his spirit. In fact, his story reminds us that it's possible to share holiday cheer even with a few obstacles. We'll explore how Bruce stays actively involved in simple adjustments for conversation when he's with family and friends, how he advocates for himself, and how others can help by understanding his challenges and how they can support him in his unique way of communicating. Stay tuned and we will catch up with Bruce.
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
So we're going to catch up with Bruce. Bruce is a very charismatic person. He has a love for cooking, humor, socializing with family and friends. But for the last 10 years, he's lived with ataxic dysarthria, a condition that affects his control and coordination of his speech muscles. His speech may sound a little slower, more slurred, but his mind and his personality are as sharp as ever. Bruce brings humor and warmth to every gathering, and holidays are no exception. But with the busyness of the season, can sometimes amplify the communication challenges he faces. We have stress at the holidays, whether we're traveling or friends and family are traveling. There's the grocery shopping, there's the extra people out on the roads, maybe weather changes or weather complications. Maybe it's an extra heavy snowfall or whatever the case may be. The holidays brings along some extra challenges. But Bruce loves to share funny stories, but he can't do it as easily if there's music going on in the background. By the way, he loves music and he is known to break into song at any time when his favorite song is playing. He loves laughter. He loves to tell jokes. He loves to make toasts. But sometimes his voice gets drowned out when there's a lot of other people talking or others fill in his words or they move on and switch subjects too quickly. They know that Bruce is still Bruce and that he's as sharp as ever, but his speech often can't keep up with his thoughts, and sometimes that trips him up. So Bruce wants his friends and family to know. And before I go on to that, I want you to realize that when someone has a communication impairment, if it's from aphasia, uh, usually after a stroke, maybe there is a brain tumor, maybe there's a head injury, maybe they have some other neurologic condition that impairs their communication. It's a challenge. They are learning a new way to communicate. So many of us take communication for granted. We get just a blip of a thought and we can pull our sentences together. Have you ever had a circumstance where somebody asked you a particular question, one that required a more detailed answer where you've kind of had to think in your head, well, do I give the full explanation? Do I give the Cliff Notes version of the explanation? Do I use technical terms, non technical terms? How much do I have to say to actually answer this question in a way that that person's going to understand? Well, when you don't have a communication impairment, we do that in a split second. But when you have a communication impairment, some of those wires that connect the parts of our brain together, from memories, experiences, how we connect our vocabulary words together, how we might say things in a way that's unique to us. Think of your friends that have sayings that they use or how they react in a different way. When a person has a communication impairment, all of these things that we take for granted take extra time, energy, and I've mentioned before that they can lose their train of thought. And yes, they can. For you who maybe has not had something that has happened to your brain that has impacted your speech, think about when you're sick or tired or sick and tired. And it's so much more effort to get your words out, to express your things. And sometimes it's just easier to say, never mind. But we don't want that. We want these holidays to be different. And Bruce has been working really hard. He still goes to therapy. He's still learning more things about himself. And he's had to really learn how to advocate for what he needs because he has the thoughts, because he can think just as quickly as he did before. It's just his mouth doesn't keep up quite as quickly. Does that make sense? So, what Bruce and what I want to convey to you with his story is that he's had to do even more self advocating for himself. Patience is key for Bruce. Give him a little more time to get his words out. Or if he's not making sense, you can give him a funny look and then he'll say it again. Either he'll say it in a different way or he'll repeat himself more slowly. One thing that Bruce knows is that if he tries to talk fast at the speed that everybody else is speaking, his words get tripped up. His muscles are not as fluid as they used to be. So he has to take just a little bit more time to what we call over articulate, say things a little more exaggerated so that his lips and his tongue and his teeth and his jaw, so all of those parts of speech, so all those muscles can be coordinated. So if everybody else is speaking at 50 miles an hour, his best speaking rate might be at 30 miles an hour. And if you're driving behind somebody when the speed limit's 50 miles an hour, I'll say supposed to be 50 miles an hour, but the car in front of you is driving 30, it drives you crazy, doesn't it? But we have to realize that with something like dysarthria, Bruce has to go at 30 miles an hour, or you're not going to understand all that he has to say. And what he has to say is important. And his family and friends want to know that. So they need to realize that they need a little bit more patience so that he can share his thoughts fully, so they can understand his jokes or understand the lyrics when he breaks into song. So, besides needing to go just a little slower to exaggerate his speech, he needs a little bit of extra time to think before he speaks, particularly when there's a big gathering, when there's background noise. Are you noticing a theme here? This is not unique to Bruce. It was with Shirley, it was with Len, and with Alvin, and it's probably true for your person with aphasia too. Even though Bruce is very quick to thinking, he has those connections to get to the words and the memories and the thoughts in a little bit different way than someone with aphasia does. He still needs a moment, like a split second extra, to pull all that together before he speaks, because now he is having to program his mouth. He's having to think about taking a bigger breath. He's having to think about getting his tongue in the spots to make certain sounds. When he gets tired, he notices he doesn't say like T's and N's and D's and L's as clearly as he would when he's fully rested. So when he's anticipating a word that has one of those sounds in it, he needs a split second to make sure his tongue hits those spots in his mouth so he can say those words clearly. Does that make sense? Another strategy is Bruce, just like everybody else we've talked about in this series, they need a quiet spot. And this quiet spot, I don't mean to say that they're going to go take a nap for 3 hours. I mean, it could be something as simple as 15 minutes to just go have a glass of water to relax, recoup, or go look out a window at the birds at the bird feeder. It's going to be very different for everyone, but quiet spaces are important. What Bruce is doing different this year is he has new and funny and unique ways of telling his friends and family when he needs to have that break. He'll say something like, "Time to go look at the birds. I'll see you guys in a little bit." Whatever it is, he's now got a plan. He's got words that he's going to say to excuse himself to go get the recharging that he needs. So, what are some of these holiday challenges for Bruce, and what are the solutions? He really particularly loves to have a conversation partner. He loves one-on-one or one-on-two conversations, because then he feels like he can engage and his speech can keep up much better than if he's trying to get a word in edgewise when there's more people in the conversation. He wants to participate without the added pressure of having to get everybody to be quiet or to find that pause in the conversation so he can say what it is he wants to say. He needs a recharge spot. And for him, he's now got ways of excusing himself so that he can go and recharge. And then he also works on prioritizing active listening. He takes a little pressure off himself at the holidays. If he's in a big group, he's not always trying to be in the middle of the conversation or give his opinion or ask the question. He likes to sit back a little bit more when there's a lot of people and listen and make eye contact and nod his head. And what he super appreciates is when others pause and include him, like, "Hey, what'd you think of that, Bruce?" And then he can give a simple response that keeps him in the conversation, makes him feel like he's a part of it, even though he's not driving the conversation. He also is setting up for this year that he has set up a couple of jokes that he wants to deliver, and he has worked it out with the schedule in the day where he plans to squeeze that in. What is the moment that he's looking for to drop this super awesome joke that he wants to share with the friends and family? Isn't that cool? So Bruce has learned even more, even 10 years after his dysarthria, how to advocate for himself, to know what it is he needs, and to find ways to still be a part of the conversation, to get the jokes in. Oh, and he's bringing his playlist. He's put the playlist of his favorite holiday songs, and they're the silly ones, like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is one example, that he's just going to pull out his phone and start playing the song, and he's going to sing along to the chorus. So he's really figured out who he is, what he needs, how he can still be the Bruce that everybody knows, but it's just in a little bit different way. Isn't that interesting? Love Bruce's story. So, self advocacy is so very important. but it doesn't happen right away. It's a process. It's working with your friends and family. It's working with a speech pathologist who's helping you navigate these different kinds of social situations so that you can work on your strengths. You can build on the strengths you have, do the things you want to do. We just might have to approach it in a little bit different way. Additionally, Bruce has some hand signals that he uses. He uses the, one finger up or the stop sign. Just give me a little bit extra. Let me finish what it is I'm trying to say. He sets expectations in advance and he celebrates who he is and his role in the gathering. Isn't that a great story? So, as action step for you, my listener, following along with these episodes, I want you to take that piece of paper. Hopefully it's more than one page by now with the action steps I've asked you to do. What is your ideal holiday? Think about your favorite holiday or the next holiday that's coming up. You don't have to be listening to these episodes in any specific order. But this time, I want you to dream just 5 minutes. If you have to set a timer on your phone because you think you're so busy you can't take 5 minutes, you can take 5 minutes. Set a timer on your phone, blank piece of paper, and write down what is your ideal holiday. What does it look like? Who is there? What does it feel like? What does it look like? Do you have little twinkly lights? Do you have extra decorations? What does it smell like? What are the foods you want to have there? Just dream a little bit. What is your ideal holiday? And then think about who's going to be attending that holiday. Are there personalities that are more challenging than others? Are there other personalities that are easier than others? How can you, as the host, or even if you're attending a holiday, how can you utilize who's going to be there to help make the holiday more aphasia or dysarthria inclusive? Who can be that aphasia or dysarthria buddy? Who can help do this or that or the other? Think about it, plan it. And if you need some more ideas, I highly recommend you check out our holiday inclusion workbook. It's all about planning for the holidays. It's taking everything we've been talking about in these episodes and putting it in on paper with a book you can carry with you or have sitting out on the table that you can write in, get your thoughts in. There's prompts and ideas and strategies that you can use to make your holiday absolutely aphasia or dysarthria inclusive. As always, thank you for listening. We have one more episode in this series, and it's all about self-care. It's about self-care for you, the spouse or care partner, as well as for your person with aphasia. I hope you'll tune in and catch the 5th episode of this very important holiday aphasia inclusion series. And don't forget, get on Amazon and look for the holiday inclusion aphasia workbook. If you just do a search for that, it's going to pop right up at the top of your feed. May all your days be wonderful, and we will catch up with you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.